Football fans, if you were unable to see the live action of the 2018 FIFA World Cup from Russia, Bermuda Broadcasting Company would like to take this opportunity to inform our valued viewers. We will rebroadcast all 64 matches of the 2018 FIFA World Cup from Russia on ZFB TV7 nightly. The rebroadcast will start at 8 p.m. and end in the early hours of the next morning. This will coincide with the FIFA daily schedule.
You're watching Bermuda Tonight. It's Monday, the 9th of July. I'm Diane Brewer, and thank you for joining us tonight. Bermuda's first casino could be open for business by the end of the year. That's according to Tourism Minister Jamal Simmons, who earlier today spoke exclusively to Mike Sharp.
The Minister of Economic Development and Tourism, Jamal Simmons, says he hopes to have regulations in place for casino gaming in Bermuda by October of this year. Minister Simmons told ZBM News why the delay.
I think it's important to note that we inherited a blockage in the passing regulations that began under the previous government. We had to install new leadership to begin moving that blockage. And part of it really is to be able to have a change in mindset that says, on one end, we're the casino experts and the Attorney General's chambers doesn't know what it's doing. We had to break that deadlock to have where we have a gaming commission and Attorney General's chambers working together. That has been broken and we're seeing progress on the regulations. But I think that what we are very careful about as we're doing the assessment during this period, as we're doing a number of things, the priority has to be about getting this right. Now, at present, we have one casino with a provisional license and the St. Regis, which will have one once it opens. But we have an opportunity to get this right, and I think that's more important than haste.
Moves towards Bermuda's first casino hit a snag in 2016 when the former CEO of the Bermuda Gaming Commission, Richard Schutz, became embroiled in controversy over his travel expenses when he was gambling commissioner in California.
There's an acting CEO, Bermudian Deborah Blakeney, and she's filling the gap as we recruit a replacement for Mr. Schutz. And I think it's important because I know some people have criticized the length of time of recruiting a replacement, but people should recall that when Mr. Schutz was hired, he was under investigation in Los Angeles for different activities around gaming. And while he was found innocent of those charges, we don't want a process that repeats that blackens the eye of Bermuda with somebody who has baggage. And so we're doing our due diligence to get the right person with the right profile to fit Bermuda.
But when pressed and pressed again on a time a casino will be open, the minister said,
I always like things yesterday, but unfortunately I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a draftsman. But I think that we are progressing, we're making progress, and I think that the public will be able to get a full update at some point over the next month or so. But when I spoke about moving forward with this without any further delay, it was about freeing that blockage and getting this process going. We had to go through and make sure that the intellect and ability of the Gaming Commission is in alignment with the legal standards of the country by the Attorney General's chambers. And that is not an easy process if anyone's ever had to work through lawyers. Getting it right is the priority. But I think it's unfortunate that, we get these sort of questions and grandstanding in Parliament about gaming, but you don't hear questions about what we're doing to improve the condition of businesses and the good work we're doing everywhere else. The narrative is that we're flying all around the world and doing nothing. And I think part of what we're most proud of in this ministry is the action we have taken to improve the condition for entrepreneurs, getting more access to capital, creating programs for our youth to get into entrepreneurship. I think that's where I think the broader picture needs to go, and I wish that Mr. Dunkley had interest in those things.
I'm Mike Sharp with Bermuda Broadcasting News.
In other news, there are growing questions about the fintech company Arbitrade, which is hoping to set up on the island. Arbitrade had said it would donate $1 million to the government to help pay for a fintech incubator space in Hamilton. With the money promised to arrive by the end of last week, there's been no confirmation this money has come through. There's also worries about the man who founded the company, Troy Hogg, who appears to have a checkered business background. We're joined now by our business correspondent, Tony Waterman, and from the government, National Security Minister Wayne Keynes.
Thanks, Diane. Yeah, certainly this company has been grabbing a lot of headlines over the past couple of weeks. A lot because of what they've come out in a conference call to say. So, Minister, thank you for joining us to help us kind of understand the situation a bit better. Let's just take it in line items. One of the things that the company said that it would be doing is giving $1 million donation for this fintech incubator. Has that money come through?
First things first, the government has set up the FinTech Development Fund. The fund is still going through the legislative process, and once the fund is set up in accordance to law, then we will be in a position where we can accept donations. So there have been no donations to this fund because the fund is absolutely still being set up.
When will that be set up?
It will be in the not too distant future. As you can imagine, there are things such as it's gone through the Senate and now has to go for the royal assent. So it will be in the not too distant future.
Has the company talked to you about this donation, saying that they were going to give you this money?
I think there were initial conversations, but let's be clear. What the government does is when we go on roadshows, we talk to a number of people. We say, listen, this government is looking to set up an opportunity for people to invest in Bermuda. We have the highest standards of KYC and AML. Companies are happy to make donations to government, but the government has said, before we accept any money from anyone, we're going to put together a FinTech Development Fund that allows us to be transparent. It allows us to set up the rubric for people could invest into it. The fund has not been set up yet, and there is not $1 in that fund. And when the time is appropriate, we will let the stakeholders know that it is indeed available for investment.
Shadow Minister for National Security, Michael Dunkley, said last week that this was akin to a bribe, taking this money to put into the fund, almost hinting that this would be in exchange for the company getting approval to set up on island and do business here. Do you see it that way?
I think we must not stray from the facts. There is the ICO legislation and the Digital Asset Business Act, and that governs each and every step of the process. So what you see is that the company Arbitrade, they went through due diligence. They went through the first step of the process. Now, as it relates to the business that they're doing in Bermuda, well, this is stage one. Stage one is being vetted. They went through the vetting. They were vetted by the Bermuda Monetary Authority. They looked at the company, they were able to question them, and they were given the initial part of their incorporation. But that's just where things begin. Whatever they want to do in Bermuda now, with reference to an ICO or creating a business, the second part of it comes into play, and that is when we look at specifically the ICO legislation and the Digital Asset Business Act. And so what we're seeing is this is a beautiful thing. We have put in the necessary elements in place to look at to look at a company, and the first part, they were successful in getting through the initial phase. So they looked at the company, they talked to 3 of its directors, and now is the challenging part, where all companies coming to Bermuda, we must go through the due diligence phase. We look at their white papers, we look at how they're going to raise money, where the source of funds is coming from, and that, we believe, it's the process that we're going through now.
What does it look like at this point?
What it looks like now is that they've gone through the first step.
But when you start looking at this company, I mean, just doing simple Google searches is going to bring up some red flags about the founder, Troy Hogg. Have you met him personally?
I have met Troy Hogg, but let's go back to the beginning. This company was able to go to an independent financial regulator, the Bermuda Monetary Authority, that have been doing this for a number of years. They had significant players, 3 directors that met with the BMA, and they were able to go through their vetting process. The vetting process is independent from the government. I cannot speak to that process, but what I can tell you, at the end of the process that is controlled, that is run, that is independent by the Bermuda Monetary Authority, they were given permission to incorporate. But that's only the first part. We've heard claims of what they're going to be doing in the future, how they're going to be conducting themselves in business. Stop. There is still the regulatory process for them to go to for conducting business. And so if they want to go into Bermuda, whatever business that they want to do, it's still the next step of KYC. They still have to say what they want to do. There still has to be vetted. They still have to be given the opportunity to say what their business for. And I'm not saying they will be, but they can be told yes or they can be told no, but that's based on their business plan. That's based on their white paper.
But they must be pretty confident that they're going to get this approval, because they're going through the process of buying Victoria Hall, which is a $6.5 million property that's been on the market. That needs to get approval from the government for the outside company to come in and buy that property.
Let's be clear. There is nothing that can be further from the truth. The government has been clear at all stages that the AML and the KYC is the most important thing to the government. And so we know that they have made public claims, and that is for Arbitrate to answer to. We're speaking to specifically how the process goes. The process goes now is every element of their business plan must now be vetted. It must go through a specific process, and that has not taken place as yet.
The company claims that they've been on island some 10 times, that they've met with the premier, that they've met with ministers. Is this true? Have you guys been meeting with them?
We have met with them. Now remember, when you are having conversations and you're going to a phase when you're going to meetings abroad, you're meeting with a number of companies, and that is fine. There is a clear place when you want to do business or set up a company in Bermuda. Again, it is not based on a conversation. It is based on the rubric that is set out in the ICO legislation and in the Digital Asset Business Act. So it's not based on a relationship. It is independent of personality. It is total and separate, and that is a process that they will indeed go through, that they're at the start of that process. I think if we could criticize them for anything, we can criticize arbitrating, and likely so, for being exuberant, telling the world what they wanted to do in Bermuda, telling them how they wanted to donate money in Bermuda, how they plan to change the world. Let's put that aside. That has very little with how the government sees this. The government is excited for anyone to come to Bermuda and set up the company. However, we have specific steps that every company must go through, and they are going through that process.
Have they been given any indication, though? Because I go back to the buying of this property, the promised donations.
Sure.
I've reached out to the charities.
Sure.
Not only have they not received the money, but they haven't even heard from this company.
Let's go back, and I want to make it crystal clear. The government has a fintech development fund. Every dollar, every penny has to be accounted for in the fintech development fund. That fund is still being set up. I cannot speak to any claims.
But when it comes to buying the $6.5 million
Yes.
Victoria Hall property,
Yes. Speaking specifically to the Victoria Hall property, that is a process that's in train.
have they gotten the sign-off from
They have
the
not
Premier?
gotten. They have not gotten sign-off from that. And let's be clear, the government is not in the business of speaking to business endeavors that are in train. Let's go back to the original conversation. They have not received permission to buy the building yet. They have not been given permission to conduct any business affairs yet in Bermuda. That is a part and governed by the ICO legislation and the Digital Asset Business Act. We believe that, Ms. Waterman, we believe that not only is this going to benefit Arbitrade, we have a global standard as being a blue chip jurisdiction. We're not going to do anything to jeopardize our status. And whilst we see this as an opportunity to inform the public, to inform our stakeholders that, listen, you can say whatever you like. And we are opening up our doors for people to come and look at Bermuda. But what we will not compromise is the integrity of our jurisdiction, and we will not compromise our KYC, Know Your Customer, and the AML process.
But when you do start digging into this company, when you look to find this Scion FZE company that's based in Dubai, there's no clear website. It's haven't received any confirmation from the Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchanges whether or not this company is a licensed trader. When you look in the Scotia International of Nevada, which is supposedly the parent company, you call there and they're aware of this, but they direct you to somebody who's not picking up their phone. Does this not raise some red flags?
Let's go back to the process. The process is that, let's go back to the process. The process is the vetting, and the AML is done by an independent authority, that is the Bermuda Monetary Authority. They have done the advanced vetting on this stage, and they have given them the ability to incorporate the company. With reference to what they want to do in Bermuda, they have not gone through the next stage, which is to set forth their business plan as to what they will do. That process still has to take place. So there is a possibility that we will look at every element of that business through their business plan, through their white paper, and make a decision whether or not they'll be given the opportunity to have an ICO raise, given the opportunity to set up an exchange.
Have you looked at the white paper?
We have not looked at the We have not looked at the white paper, and I'm going to go to again so we're clear. This is going to be set up in accordance with the ICO legislation and with the Digital Asset Business Act. It sets out specific elements of how a business is governed. At the appropriate time, the FinTech Advisory Committee, it's an independent body that will look at this and make the decision whether or not they get the thumbs up or the thumbs down with reference to commencing business services in Bermuda.
Okay, so when it comes to the building, which they said was going to be closing when they had the conference call in the 2 weeks from there, they've not received permission.
Let me tell you what
They've not sent the $1 million. They've not sent the money to the charity.
Let's go back for a second and say this with the greatest of respect. This is a company that is going through an ongoing due diligence process. You're trying to put a timeline on a process. What I am saying is that the process has prescribed elements of it, and they're going through this process. And so what I do not want to do is paint this in a negative light. There is a process. There are specific timelines. As the timelines go through, then we will check the box and move forward. There is, one second, there's not necessarily anything nefarious about the stages that we're going through. It is indeed a process.
Since this has come out and has raised so many eyebrows, have you spoken to any of the representatives from the company in the last week and a half to say, hey guys?
The reality of it is, and I'm going to go through it again, there is a KYC and an AML process that is independent of the government.
But clearly you're here tonight because you want to clear up some of the
I think
questions that are swirling around this company.
I think it's important for us to understand where we are as a country generally. This week I had the privilege of being in France, and we had the opportunity to talk to regulators from France and Germany and England, and we showed them what we were doing in Bermuda. It's very important that we work through this process to make sure that the standards are high. We believe that this process will vindicate itself. We believe that making the press statements in advance, saying what they're going to do, we believe, and we say this respectfully, this was a misstep. But now that the misstep has been made by arbitrate, we believe that the process will vindicate itself, because at every stage, it was built into the legislation is the accurate KYC and the AML that we believe will continue to allow us to vet companies, no matter who they are, and get the best opportunities for Bermuda, to protect our global reputation and to make sure that we continue to be the blue chip jurisdiction that has enjoyed a stellar reputation for over 50 years.
All right, well, we're going to be following this right along with you.
Look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
joining us. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Minister for National Security there, Wayne Keynes. Diane, back to you.
Tony, Minister, thank you very much. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I just got the best night's sleep on this Beauty Rest mattress. This is cause for celebration. Okay. Good night.
At Dreams, we don't just sell mattresses so you can get better sleep. We do it so you can be awake. Dreams, the mattress professionals.
I didn't order this one. This is the wrong item.
What? These are the wrong size.
I wanted white pants for the white party.
These are way too big. Oh my gosh, this is not what I ordered.
Finally in Bermuda, announcing Mailboxes Unlimited's Internet Return Hub. Now for an 85% savings, no matter how you brought your items into Bermuda, you can return your items back to the U.S. easily. Mailboxes Unlimited's Internet Return Hub. Stop by today.
I attended the Mirror Super Camp. It was an awesome experience. I got to meet a lot of new people.
And then we also learned about the 8 keys of excellence. Keys open doors, keys open doors.
Super Camp is not like other camps. There's a strong focus here about looking at the options and the choices you have available to you and choosing the one that best reflects who you are.
I learned a lot about the way that I have to keep pushing and persevere no matter what's going on.
The best thing about Super Camp? It allows you the space to truly be yourself.
Anytime somebody finally came into their own presence and felt comfortable being who they were, that was a special moment for me at Super Camp.
Super Camp is about exploring who you are and transforming yourself.
It only gets better!
We invite you to join the transformation of a generation.
Turning to weather news, Tropical Storm Chris bringing some rain to the island, but the storm is still some distance away. Is it going to leave us alone or edge closer? Here's the latest forecast from AccuWeather.
AccuWeather is presented by BF&M Insurance Group. We now go to AccuWeather headquarters.
This AccuWeather forecast here on ZBM is brought to us by our friends at the BF&M Insurance Group, and we have had some active weather with periods of rain and some showers today. We do have Tropical Storm Chris churning to our west. We're also watching the leftover moisture from what we're now calling Tropical Rainstorm Burl, well to the south over Puerto Rico, moving into Hispaniola. But the showers that have been affecting us have really been tied to a trough of low pressure to our north, tied to another unnamed area of low pressure. And we can kind of connect the dots between Chris and the storm system to our north that is a lot weaker. And you can kind of see this almost an umbilical cord of moisture between the two with some extra showers and even the potential for some thunderstorms nearby. We are looking at the chance for some thunder and lightning here and there. We're seeing a little bit of convection flaring up a little bit, so some of these showers are growing taller, and we may see some thunder and lightning continue for some into the evening hours. Thunderstorm advisory is in effect. Humidity is up around 80 to 85%. Temperatures are down a little bit because of the clouds and the recent showers, 79 degrees. Water temp is 82. On the inside, we have 1 to 2 foot waves. On the outside, we have 3 to 5 foot waves currently. So the thunderstorm advisory does continue this evening, so be aware of that. There could be a few rumbles of thunder. Overnight tonight, still some showers will linger, mainly in the evening hours. Can't rule out a stray rumble of thunder, and we will stay warm with a low almost as warm as we are right now. We only cool down to around 77. Tomorrow, there will be a little bit more dry weather as this band of showers begins to pull away to the north, and we open the door for some warm and humid flow from the south. So here we have Futurecast, and this shows that storm system to the north, that little ribbon of moisture that's impacting us right now, and then this is Tropical Storm Chris to our west. And watch what happens here through the overnight hours. It's nearly stationary. This thing barely moves, but there's a trough of low pressure that will be moving in from the northeastern U.S., sparking some showers and storms there. And that will eventually pick this thing up and usher it north, and that will allow us to enjoy slightly drier weather for a few days as that band of moisture off to the north pulls away. So the upcoming tides, we have high tide, again, 6:12, and then the tide will be going out for the evening hours, 12:41 a.m., low tide. Another high tide tomorrow morning at 6:30. But again, boating weather is not the best with these extra showers and especially the wave action with Chris, just a little more than 500 miles away to our west. Gateway forecast, nice day in Toronto and New York. Could be a storm or two into Tuesday evening and Tuesday night in New York and maybe even Boston. Atlanta's warm, Miami scattered thunderstorms. And as we take a look at the Caribbean, scattered showers and storms. Some of the rain is heavy into Hispaniola as we move forward, and we've had some flash flooding in Puerto Rico tied to Burl's leftover moisture. But Tropical Storm Chris is our main concern to the west, and we will see some scattered showers and thunderstorms. We need to keep an eye on things later this week as we may see some additional moisture tied to former Burl, which could re-strengthen to our west. Back to you.
AccuWeather was presented by BF&M Insurance Group.
I was diagnosed with illness, very frightening because my son had just turned 1 and it was a cancer. So I'm young, new baby, and I needed to get the care that I knew would be definitive so that I wanted to be around for him for a very long time. I got in contact with BF&M, and BF&M was able to commit at that time to doing at least 50%, so we were comfortable, okay, well, we're gonna go. We got off the plane actually the day of the procedure, and on my way to the limo, my case manager called and she says, Kiana, we got it, you're covered at 100%. And I cried all the way to the office because I was just so happy. The BF&M difference is that I really felt that the case manager really was concerned about my overall care, and because of that I really appreciated them. I think that personal care, that willingness to listen, and then to work until they were able to get it so that I could get full coverage really made the difference for me.
Okay, well, no. Get a card, man. Come on, man. The card, man. What?
There's a myriad of snacks out there, something special for everyone on match day, and you're likely to find them at Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Football fans, if you were unable to see the live action of the 2018 FIFA World Cup from Russia, Bermuda Broadcasting Company would like to take this opportunity to inform our valued viewers. We will rebroadcast all 64 matches of the 2018 FIFA World Cup from Russia on ZFB TV7 nightly. The rebroadcast will start at 8 p.m. and end in the early hours of the next morning. This will coincide with the FIFA daily schedule.
Welcome back. A woman has been acquitted of attempting to set another woman alight by pouring gasoline on her during a fight. Justice Carlisle Graves directed a jury to find Ebony Allen not guilty of throwing gasoline on Natasha Morse with intent to burn her on Christmas Eve outside the Southampton Ranger Sports Club. Justice Graves ruled in favor of defense lawyer Charles Richardson's argument that the Crown was not able to prove Allen intended to set Morse alight. Meantime, police have appealed for witnesses in connection with two assaults near two separate cricket clubs. The first saw an altercation just 1 a.m. this morning outside St. David's Cricket Club involving a group of men. Some are reported to have been carrying bladed articles. Two men were later admitted to hospital before being released. In the second incident in the early hours of Sunday morning, a 34-year-old man was attacked outside of Somerset Cricket Club. He was assaulted by several other men carrying blunt objects. The victim is in a stable condition in the hospital. Anyone with information is asked to call CID on 247-1744 or Crime Stoppers at 800-8477. Finally, this evening, a floral tribute. The Royal Poincianas are losing their blossoms, but it was a glorious display while it lasted. Producer Gary Foster Skelton went out about capturing some of the best of the blooms before they went. Here's his tribute to one of nature's most colorful shows. They are beautiful trees indeed. Well, that's all from us for this evening. I'm Diane Brewer. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you at the same time tomorrow night. Good night, Bermuda.